Hi everybody, and thanks for joining us today for some virtual Vitamin Z as we bring the Detroit Zoo to you. My name is Claire and I'm a curator of education for the Detroit Zoological Society, where we are celebrating and saving wildlife. And today I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Betsie. Good morning,
Hi.
Betsie.
Good morning, everybody.
Betsie is our associate curator of mammals, and she is out here today with me at the anteater habitat, where we are watching two anteaters have a
Yes.
little morning snack.
These are giant anteaters, the species. There's actually 4 species of anteater. These are the giant, and there is also the tamandua, northern and southern tamanduas, and there's also the silkies. But here at the Detroit Zoo, we have the giant anteaters, and we're joined by Chesley on the right. She's a little bit darker, and she's 24 years old.
Wow.
And Bissell on the left, a little bit lighter. She's 12. Bissell was aptly named by the vacuum brand. She came into the zoo with that name about 10 years ago or so, because they're kind of like big vacuums. They suck up ants and bugs and anything else they can find.
That's a great name. Kudos to whoever named her.
Yes.
Now, are these two anteaters related?
They're not related. They're both females, but they're great friends and they get along well in this habitat, and they're enjoying a little snack right now.
And we care for just these two anteaters right now here at the Detroit Zoo.
We just have the
yes?
two
Okay.
giant anteaters, yes.
Now, looking at these two anteaters, there are some really unique adaptations that you don't see very commonly on a lot of other mammals. That long nose and, I don't know.
Very long nose, long bushy tail. If you can see, I don't know if you can, they're actually walking on their front legs on their knuckles, and they have claws on those front feet to help dig open termite mounds and get into ant hills and everything like that. So you could zoom in maybe on Bissell on the left.
Yeah.
You can see her front foot right there. She's kind of holding that. They like avocados as a special treat. So she's holding that with her foot, using the claw and using her tongue to get in there. And their tongues are really cool. They're almost like 2 feet long. They can come out that far. They need those long tongues to be able to get into termite mounds and the ant hills. They can actually find their favorite kind of ants that they like by sense of smell.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some powerful noses.
That long snout is good for something.
Those claws are looking to me like they're 4 or 5 inches long.
They are very, very long and very strong. They have to dig through, basically, termite mounds are really hard-packed mud that is almost like a cement quality, so they have to be able to rip into those to get to their food. So they're actually very long and very sharp.
Now, do they, these two always spend time out on the habitat together?
Yes, they do. They have this nice big habitat with lots of trees and grass and logs to play with and dig through and maybe find some ants or some yummy bugs underneath the logs and the rocks that are out here.
We can't even see the other extent of the habitat, so maybe at the end here I'll walk around, but even just the front part of the habitat is quite expansive. Lots of different places for them to go and hide and take a nap if they want to, or be out for the public to see. So they have a lot of options in this space. It looks like it was really carefully curated.
Farther down, they even have a shallow pool that they sometimes will go in there and sit and take a bath. And when an anteater takes a bath, it's really funny. They'll sit down and they'll use those front feet to kind of splash the water up on them and use those claws to kind of part their hair and make sure the water gets down to their skin to kind of take a little bath.
That's amazing. Sounds like they take better baths than my kids do.
They do, yeah. They're pretty good at bathing and keeping themselves clean.
Now, will they stay out all winter on the habitat?
They are susceptible to cold temperatures, but so they have a nice indoor holding that we spruce up for them in the wintertime with lots of plants and substrates and things to dig through. But if it's a nice sunny day in the winter, they'll come outside and even walk through the snow and see what it's all about. But usually they're inside during real cold weather.
Now, some animal species our zookeeper and animal care staff will go out onto the habitat with, and others they won't. Is this a species where, actually, yeah, if I zoom in just a little bit, you can see the claws just tucked up underneath here.
That's one reason why our zookeepers don't share the same space usually as the anteaters. Of course, if there's an emergency, we would do our best to do whatever we need to do. But on a typical day, the anteaters come out here after the keepers have already cleaned up the space and provided some treats and food. But yes, we typically don't share the same space as the anteaters.
So Alex is asking what their fur or body covering feels like, and it's pretty coarse.
It's like coarse hair, and it varies in length. You can see up by their head, it's kind of short, and that's short so that they don't get their long hair trapped in the termite mounds or anything like that that they're digging into. And then it gets really long towards their back legs and their tail. Their tail is really long and beautiful, and they actually will lay down and cover themselves with their tail, kind of like their own personal blanket, a little built-in blanket. They go through a little kind of ritual, almost like an animal that lays down, kind of circles and lays down and then fans out their tail and then covers themselves with their tails to lay down. It's kind of cute. I always like their back feet too. Their back feet are kind of small but kind of cute too. Zookeepers love animal feet. We always just comment on
compare the animal
how cute
feet.
They are.
So they're named anteaters. Are anteaters part of their staple diet here at the Detroit Zoo?
They are insectivores, meaning they eat a lot of different kinds of insects, ants, termites, mealworms, crickets. So we provide a lot of those insects to them, mainly crickets and mealworms. They might find ants and things out here in the yard. What we do is put out sticky things out in the yard that maybe the ants flock to.
Okay.
So then these guys can get an occasional treat like that. But they also get a staple diet of an insectivore diet. It's like a gruel that we mix with water that they'll lap up, which has all the vitamins and minerals in it that they need.
Awesome. I was joking at the beginning that they'd be like the perfect picnic partner. If you take them out to your picnic, and they could help protect your picnic blanket. But yeah, I'm not so sure after those claws. I'm not sure if I'd want them as a picnic partner.
They might eat the watermelon. That's one of their other favorite treats. They might eat the watermelon though, because they could rip open a whole watermelon really easily with those claws.
Now, these big logs that are in the habitat for them to interact with, and I'm sure there's insects that naturally just kind of flock to these logs anyway. Mm-hmm. I know we put them in there. Do we have to switch these out very often? I mean, do they tear them apart, or does it kind of depend on the size of the log?
It depends on the log, and we try to, when we have to prune trees around the zoo grounds, I save, the good, nice, rotteny ones for the anteaters. I'm like, hey, let's save that one. So we might set it aside for a little while, maybe let it get a little bit more rotten and icky. That's the best way the anteaters love it. So for this habitat, we actually use a crane to lift the big logs in, and then we'll place them around and change them out a couple times a year so the anteaters have something new and fun to experience. And that's also where we put some of the sticky items that we put out there.
On the logs?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So the bugs go to that area.
It looks like they've been digging around in the front here. I was just noticing that as the iPad was kind of zooming in there. It looks like they've been digging around in the ground a little bit.
If you want a well-manicured lawn, you don't want an anteater because...
So come over and visit.
They might not be the best picnic partner after all, because they like to dig, and those claws can just rip open that dirt really fast. So it looks like a mole has been running around in here, but it's really just the anteaters digging up and looking for treats.
Now, anteaters, I have to give a special shout out to anteaters because they've appeared on a lot of our social physical distancing guidelines, kind of helping us and our guests think about how far apart from each other they need to be.
Your average anteater is about 6 feet long, so that was a good social distancing cue, be 1 anteater away from me to you.
And now these two anteaters don't prefer to social distance. It looks like they really enjoy spending their time together.
They get along really well. They're good friends. They like to have treats side by side. They'll sleep together. We come in the morning and they're all curled up together with their tails on top of them and just kind of using each other as a pillow.
If anybody out there has any questions about the anteaters here in our care at the Detroit Zoo, if you want to pop them into the comment box. I'm actually going to walk around the other side of the habitat just so everybody can see the rest of the habitat space, and then I'm going to come right back here to the two anteaters as they are continuing to investigate these avocados. But I want to show you the entire space. So this space has been really carefully planted. You can see all the different trees, the different logs that Betsy's been talking about that they carefully choose as to which ones go into the habitat space and what they look like. You can see this one has a whole bunch of holes in it and lots of opportunities for the anteaters to dig through them and find some snacks. There's the two anteaters back here still checking out their avocados, completely enthralled.
Down here on your left.
Okay, let's go around the corner.
You'll be able to see that in just a minute. It has a shallow grade, so it doesn't really have a deep end, if you want to say. It's a shallow grade that they can just walk right into and take a little bath when they need to.
That's my kind of pool.
Right on the far side there.
Yep, here's the pool right back here. So this is all for the anteaters to enjoy. And like Betsy was mentioning earlier, that they do a pretty good job of bathing themselves. A couple more logs up towards the front. A really big stump in the middle. That's a pretty awesome looking stump, I have to say.
Yeah, that was a nice gnarly one there for them.
Do you guys ever mow the grass in here?
Yeah, we do. We usually use a weed whip and kind of get down some of the tall areas, but we like to leave some of the bushier grass plants to either hide things in or just have a nice area for them to lay behind and have some shade.
It makes it look really naturalistic. I like it. All right,
they're native to Central and South America, so forests, taller grasslands. We're trying to have that experience here for them.
All right. Last minute questions about the anteaters.
I have a funny story.
I would love a funny story.
If you've never seen an anteater yawn, it's a really, really funny thing. All of a sudden, you know that tongue is about 2 feet long, and it's attached within their bodies, actually down by their sternum, by their muscles. It has such strong muscle attachment, so they can, stretch all the way out and get to those termites that are far into termite mounds. But when they yawn, because they don't really have big mouths to open, their tongue just kind of falls out of their mouth for a quick second and then slurp it right back in.
That's
so you're
awesome.
like, wait a minute, what does he do? Oh, he's yawning, or she's yawning. So it's kind of funny. In the morning when they wake up, they yawn.
I'm going to have to spend some time out here in the morning because I really want to see that.
Or if they wake up, if they've had a nice little nap in the grass, they'll wake up and they'll yawn, and you're like, what is he doing with his tongue? Oh. Then it has
yawning.
to curl back up all the way into his mouth.
Now this
mouth.
This habitat was expanded not too long ago.
Yes, this yard that you're looking at was actually 3 spaces for different animals. So we decided to expand this and have the anteaters have this nice lush grass area.
Do you know, I don't know how big it is anymore as far as square footage. Do you know offhand about how large it is?
I do not, because it's so kind of twisty and extended in certain areas. It'd
be hard to measure.
Nice square rectangle, and the wild isn't a nice square rectangle either. So we're trying to mimic that, and then have this expand all over here by the pool and down by that other side. So I'd have to look up the square footage for you.
Yeah, that'd be quite the math problem.
Yes.
All right. So thanks everybody who's been watching this morning and for all the great questions that have come through. Betsy, thank you for taking time out of your morning.
Yeah.
As we got to meet the 2 anteaters here in our care.
These are amazing animals, and some people walk right by them, and we want to, highlight them and just how unique they are.
Anteaters are my dad's favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so this has been a lot of fun to get them here on camera so we can share them with everybody.
I have one last, did you know? Did you know that they carry their babies on their backs?
Do they really?
They do. When the babies are born, they really are, can't really get around very well on their own just yet. So they'll climb up their mom's backs and they'll just ride on their back for a little while, for a couple months. And it's so cute because the babies have little stripes.
Oh my gosh.
And the babies have their own little stripes.
Yep. That would be ridiculously cute.
Yes.
Have we had anteater babies here at the Detroit Zoo? I don't ever remember them.
It's been several years, I think almost 20 or so.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds like the entire length of my tenure. So that's
I think it was a little bit before
I don't remember.
Well. Yeah. Yeah, but these 2 girls are great.
All right, so the next time you come out to the Detroit Zoo and you want to visit the anteaters, they're right across from the Arctic Cafe and between that and the barnyard. So to kind of give you a location as to where they are. And they will often nap during the day. We do give them opportunities to do that and have little places for them to tuck away. So look really carefully around, especially under the trees and in some of the shady spots to see if you can catch a glimpse of the 2 anteaters who live here. So thanks again today, everybody, for joining us. If you're looking for some more virtual vitamin Z, check out our website, detroitzoo.org. We have cameras into some of the habitats. We also have a bunch of different videos like this one on different animals and a variety of different activities. So make sure to check that out. And thank you again once more, Betsy, for spending your time with us this morning.
So glad you could join us.
And until next